When you step into a conversation with a woman, you're not just exchanging words, you're exchanging energy. Every syllable you speak, every pause you allow, every glance you hold carries with it a vibration that either pulls her closer into your world or pushes her further away. A conversation is not about sentences strung together. It's about the invisible energy underneath those sentences. Men often think they need the perfect script, the right pick-up line, or clever humor to win a woman's attention. But that's not the truth. The truth is she's not responding to the words alone. She's responding to the energy those words carry. She can feel your intent, she can feel your confidence, and she can feel your uncertainty even before you open your mouth. That's why two men can say the exact same sentence, and one will spark a smile while the other will be met with indifference. It's not the sentence that mattered, it's the energy behind it. Think about the last time you walked into a room and immediately felt someone's presence without them saying a word. That's energy. That same law applies when you sit across from a woman. She is not waiting to analyze your vocabulary. She's reading the unspoken language of your energy, your tone, your posture, your rhythm. These things create an energetic field that either radiates strength, openness, and calmness, or it radiates nervousness, desperation, and insecurity. She doesn't need to study it. She instinctively knows it. Women are naturally more in tune with emotions and energetic signals, so what you're sending out beneath the words often speaks louder than the words themselves. When you talk to a woman, she isn't measuring how impressive your job title sounds or how advanced your knowledge of random topics may be. She's noticing whether she feels uplifted in your presence, whether she feels safe enough to relax, and whether she senses a spark that excites her curiosity. All of that is energy. A conversation is simply the doorway, but the real connection is happening underneath that doorway, in the exchange of subtle signals. That's why mastering the art of conversation begins with mastering your own state of being. If your energy is scattered, if you're overly anxious, if you're approaching with a hidden agenda, she feels that. She may not point it out, but she withdraws. On the other hand, when your energy is grounded, when your focus is on enjoying the moment rather than proving yourself, she feels that too, and she leans in. Men often underestimate silence, but silence carries energy as well. The pause between your words can communicate certainty, or it can communicate hesitation. If you pause with calmness, it radiates confidence. If you pause with insecurity, it radiates doubt. She can feel the difference. Energy doesn't lie. That's why presence is more powerful than performance. When you're present, your energy is aligned, steady, and clear. When you're performing, your energy is scattered, trying too hard, reaching outside of yourself for validation. Women can pick that up instantly. It's the same with laughter. Forced laughter has a jagged energy to it, but authentic laughter radiates warmth. She knows the difference. The same words can come out of two men's mouths, but one is magnetic while the other is invisible. The only difference is the energy underneath the words. That's why the art of conversation is not really about memorizing techniques. It's about tuning your energy before you even open your mouth. If you walk into the interaction with an inner calm, with appreciation for the moment, with the intention to enjoy instead of impress, your words flow differently. They carry a weight, a vibration, a richness that cannot be faked. Women are emotional beings, and emotions are simply energy in motion. When you speak, your energy stirs her emotions. She's not cataloging facts or judging your logic. She's feeling how you make her feel. That's the secret most men miss. They focus on what to say, but they neglect who they are being as they say it. Being comes before speaking. Energy comes before language. That's why sometimes you can sit in silence with someone and feel more connection than hours of conversation with another person. It's not the words that bond you. It's the energetic resonance between you. If you want to master the art of conversation with women, start by mastering your energy. Align yourself before you enter the interaction. Breathe deeply, settle into your body, remind yourself that you are enough without needing to prove anything. When you do that, the energy you carry becomes magnetic. It transmits calmness, strength, and openness, and that's what she feels. That's what makes her lean closer. That's what makes her open up. That's what makes her remember you long after the words fade. Because at the end of the day, the conversation isn't just about words. It's about the invisible energy that flows between two people and the man who understands that holds the real power in connection. A man often spends too much of his life searching for the right words, the perfect sentences, and the cleverest replies, thinking that's what will unlock the attention and admiration of a woman. But the truth is, it has very little to do with the words themselves. What matters far more is the energy of confidence behind them. A man with confidence can take the simplest phrase, something as ordinary as, "How's your day going?" and make it sound magnetic, while a man without confidence can deliver the most poetic line and watch it fall flat. Women are not listening for the flawless construction of language. They're listening for the vibration of certainty, the steadiness of self-belief, the presence of a man who is comfortable in his own skin. Confidence is not arrogance, nor is it aggression. Confidence is that calm assurance that you belong in your own space, that you do not need approval to validate your worth. When a man embodies this, it comes through in every conversation. He does not rush to fill the silence with nervous chatter because he is not afraid of silence. He does not over-explain or justify his thoughts because he trusts in their value. He does not compete for attention because he already knows he carries value within him. That kind of presence is irresistible to a woman because it speaks to her on a subconscious level. Here is a man who knows who he is. Here is a man I can relax around. The irony is that many men try to memorize tricks, strategies, and scripted lines in the hope of sounding more impressive. But when you rely on performance, your energy is divided. You're focused on remembering the script instead of being present. A woman can feel that split instantly. She may not consciously articulate it, but she senses something is off. Something feels unnatural. On the other hand, when a man lets go of the need to perform and simply stands firm in his own energy, he becomes far more attractive. Confidence makes even the simplest interaction engaging because it shows that you trust yourself enough to let the moment unfold. Think of it like music. The words are the notes, but the confidence is the rhythm. Without rhythm, even the most beautiful notes sound disorganized. But with rhythm, even simple notes can create a song that moves people. The same applies in conversation. A confident man carries rhythm in his voice, his timing, his flow. He's not scrambling to impress, he's relaxed enough to enjoy the moment. That rhythm is what a woman feels. She doesn't walk away remembering the exact words, she remembers how she felt in his presence. Confidence also means not fearing rejection. Most men crumble at the thought of a woman not being interested. They interpret it as a reflection of their worth, when in reality, rejection simply means misalignment. A confident man knows that if one woman doesn't resonate, another will. He doesn't attach his self-esteem to the outcome of one conversation, because his value doesn't depend on someone else's response. That detachment is powerful because it makes him free. Women feel that freedom. They sense when a man is desperate for approval, and they sense when he is already whole without needing their validation. The latter is what draws them in because it feels safe and authentic. There's also a quiet confidence in body language. A man's posture, the way he moves his hands, the steadiness of his gaze. These things often communicate more than his sentences. A confident man doesn't dart his eyes nervously around the room. He holds contact just long enough to convey presence, then relaxes. He doesn't fidget endlessly. His movements are purposeful and calm. He doesn't shrink into himself. He takes up space with ease. This isn't about forcing dominance. It's about being comfortable with your natural presence. That comfort radiates in conversation because it shows a woman that you are at peace with yourself. Confidence over content also means that mistakes no longer matter. You could stumble over a word, mispronounce something, or even forget what you were saying, and it wouldn't destroy the moment if your confidence is intact. In fact, many women find it endearing when a man can laugh at himself without losing composure. That demonstrates that his sense of self is not fragile. He doesn't crumble when things aren't perfect because he doesn't need perfection to validate his worth. That strength is far more compelling than perfectly polished speech. When a man leads with confidence, the conversation takes on a different energy. Instead of asking, "What do I need to say to impress her?" he asks, "How can I enjoy this moment with her?" That shift changes everything. It moves the interaction away from performance and into connection. Because when you're confident, you're not focused on controlling her perception of you. You're focused on being fully present, enjoying the exchange, and letting the energy flow naturally. That ease creates chemistry in a way that no rehearsed content ever could. Confidence, at its core, is about trust. Trusting yourself, trusting the process of connection, and trusting that you don't need to be anything other than who you are. A man who embodies this trust becomes magnetic because he carries a frequency that tells a woman, "You are safe here. You are seen here. You don't need to perform either." And when she feels that, she opens up. She relaxes. She begins to reveal more of herself. all because of confidence, not content. Most men enter conversations with women carrying an agenda in their minds. They are already thinking about what to say next, how to sound clever, how to keep her entertained, or how to avoid awkward silences. In doing so, they miss the very essence of communication. Listening. Genuine listening is not about waiting for your turn to talk. It's not about nodding mechanically while your thoughts race ahead. Genuine listening is about slowing down, emptying your own mental noise, and giving her the rare gift of full presence. It's about making her feel that, in that moment, nothing else in the world matters but what she's saying. And this, more than anything else, is what makes a woman feel truly valued. When you listen deeply, you communicate without words that you respect her perspective. You tell her that she matters, that her thoughts, her feelings, and her experiences are worth your attention. This is powerful because in a world filled with distractions, most people hardly ever feel truly heard. Women, in particular, often deal with men who pretend to listen, but are really just waiting for their chance to speak or to steer the conversation toward themselves. That kind of interaction leaves her feeling unseen and dismissed. But when you listen with your full presence, your eyes, your body language, your stillness, she feels the difference immediately. She senses that she is not just a background character in your world, she is the center of your attention in that moment. Listening also builds trust. When you truly hear what she says and reflect it back, even subtly, it signals to her that you're paying attention, that you're invested. She doesn't have to repeat herself. She doesn't have to fight for your attention. She doesn't have to wonder if you care. That builds an emotional bridge between you because trust is born not out of grand declarations, but out of consistent signals that say, I hear you, I see you, I understand you. Women naturally open up more to the man who listens deeply because she feels safe expressing herself. She feels she won't be judged, she won't be dismissed, and she won't be competing with his ego for space. True listening is also about listening beneath the words. Often, what she says on the surface is only part of the message. The tone, the hesitation, the emphasis on certain words, even the emotions hidden between sentences. These are signals that reveal what she is really trying to express. Most men miss these layers because they're fixated on the literal content. But a man who is tuned in picks up on those subtle cues. If she says, I'm fine, but her tone is flat and her eyes look away, the confident listener doesn't just take the words at face value. He senses there's more beneath the surface, and he gently opens space for her to share. This creates an intimacy that surface-level conversations can never reach. When you listen genuinely, you also shift the balance of conversation from performance to connection. Many men believe they need to constantly provide entertainment, but the reality is, people are more engaged when they are given space to share about themselves. A woman will often walk away from a conversation thinking, he was amazing to talk to. Not because he spoke brilliantly, but because she got to speak and he actually cared enough to listen. That's the paradox. Listening makes you more memorable than speaking. It's not about dominating the interaction with cleverness. It's about creating space for her to feel important. Listening also requires curiosity. When she shares something, instead of rushing to respond with your own story, let your curiosity guide you deeper into her world. Ask questions that expand on her thoughts. Show genuine interest in what excites her, what challenges her, what she dreams about. This doesn't mean interrogating her, but inviting her to go beyond the surface. That curiosity turns ordinary small talk into meaningful conversation. A man who listens deeply and asks thoughtful questions creates a sense of intimacy far faster than the man who talks endlessly about himself. It's important to recognize that listening isn't passive, it's an active choice. Your body language matters. Maintaining eye contact, leaning in slightly, nodding naturally, responding with facial expressions that reflect your engagement. These signals tell her that you're not just hearing her voice, you're connecting with her message. And when she feels that, she relaxes. She opens more. She begins to reveal layers of herself that she doesn't share with just anyone. That is the art of deep listening. It turns conversation into connection and connection into attraction. What most men don't realize is that listening is also a form of leadership. It shows emotional strength because it takes discipline to quiet your own thoughts and give someone else your full attention. Weak men chase attention by talking endlessly. Strong men command attention by listening powerfully. And women instinctively respect the man who listens because it demonstrates patience, presence, and self-control. It shows that he is not needy for validation, that he is confident enough to let the focus be on her without losing himself. That level of composure is incredibly attractive. Genuine listening is magnetic because it makes her feel significant. In a world where people are often overlooked, the man who listens deeply becomes unforgettable. She won't just remember what he said, she'll remember how he made her feel valued, seen, and understood. That feeling lingers long after the conversation ends, and it's what sets him apart from every other man who only heard her words but never truly listened to her. Curiosity is one of the most underrated qualities a man can bring into a conversation with a woman. Too many men focus on trying to impress with their own stories, their achievements, or their sense of humor. But what truly draws a woman in is a man who is genuinely curious about her world. Curiosity has a unique power because it signals interest without pressure, attention without performance, and connection without manipulation. When you approach a woman with real curiosity, you're telling her, "I want to know you, not just talk at you." And that message opens doors that clever lines and memorized scripts never will. When curiosity is genuine, it changes the energy of the conversation. Instead of following the typical cycle of small talk that stays on the surface, questions about work, weather, or routine, it invites her to go deeper, to reveal parts of herself that most people never bother to ask about. Curiosity doesn't mean firing questions like an interrogation. It means listening carefully and following the threads she gives you. If she mentions something she's passionate about, curiosity nudges you to explore that. If she hints at a challenge she's facing, curiosity leads you to gently open space for her to share more. Each question you ask is not about gathering information, but about showing her that her inner world matters to you. This creates an entirely different dynamic. Most women are used to men who keep conversations centered on themselves. They're used to men who talk endlessly about their cars, their careers, their gym routines, or their accomplishments. That kind of interaction quickly becomes forgettable because it doesn't make her feel engaged. It just makes her feel like an audience. But when you bring curiosity into the space, you flip that script. You make her the star of the moment, and in doing so, you give her the chance to open up, to shine, and to feel appreciated. That experience is rare, and because it's rare, it's powerful. Curiosity also has the ability to unlock emotions. When a man asks thoughtful questions, he moves the conversation from the head to the heart. Instead of just collecting facts about where she works or what she studied, he explores how those experiences shaped her, what they mean to her, and how they make her feel. That's where real intimacy begins, because people connect through emotions, not data. If she shares a story and you respond with curiosity about her feelings in that her moment, she feels that you're not just listening to the story, you're listening to her soul. That makes her want to open up even more. And every layer she shares deepens the bond. What makes curiosity so magnetic is that it cannot be faked. If you're pretending to be interested while waiting for your turn to talk, she'll sense it. But if you are truly engaged, your questions flow naturally, your body language aligns, and your energy communicates sincerity. Women can feel when you are genuinely fascinated by them, and that feeling is intoxicating. It makes them want to reveal more, because the more they reveal, the more alive they feel in your presence. That's the secret. Curiosity doesn't just reveal her to you. It reveals her to herself. Sometimes a question asked with true curiosity will make her reflect in ways she hasn't before, and that reflection becomes tied to you. She remembers you as the man who made her feel something deeper, not just the man who filled the air with chatter. Curiosity also builds trust faster than almost anything else. When you explore her thoughts with openness, without judgment or trying to steer the conversation toward your own agenda, she begins to feel safe. Safe to share, safe to be vulnerable, safe to be authentic. That safety is the foundation of connection. Without it, conversations remain shallow. With it, conversations become the kind she remembers long after. And the best part is, curiosity doesn't require grand gestures or sophisticated techniques. It only requires presence, patience, and the willingness to see her as a universe worth exploring. A curious man stands out because he isn't trying to impress. He's trying to understand. He isn't racing to prove his value. He's allowing the moment to show her value. That subtle but powerful shift is what creates attraction at a deeper level. Curiosity transforms ordinary questions into invitations for closeness. Instead of, "What do you do?" curiosity asks, "What do you love most about what you do?" Instead of, "Where are you from?" curiosity asks, "What was it like growing up there?" Small adjustments like this change the entire feeling of a conversation. They take it out of the realm of forgettable small talk and place it in the realm of meaningful connection. Curiosity also breaks down barriers. Many women enter conversations with their guard up, especially if they feel a man is only interested in impressing them or has hidden motives. But when she feels genuine curiosity, those defenses soften. She realizes she doesn't need to perform or pretend. She just needs to share. And the more she shares, the more she feels connected. That connection grows not because you dazzled her with your charm, but because you gave her the gift of space, interest, and genuine curiosity. In the end, curiosity is not just about discovering who she is. It's about creating an experience where she feels alive, valued, and understood. That's the kind of experience that lingers in her memory. That makes her think of you long after the conversation has ended. And that sets you apart from the countless men who never bothered to ask, never cared enough to listen, and never thought to wonder about the depth of her world. Most men approach conversations with women as if they're negotiating facts, as if the exchange of logic and information is what creates attraction. They list achievements, they explain their opinions, they try to be right, and they believe that this is what will win her over. But what so many fail to understand is that women connect not through facts, but through feelings. Emotions are their language. When you communicate only on a logical level, you're speaking to her mind but leaving her heart untouched. And it's the heart, not the head, that builds connection, attraction, and intimacy. A woman is not going to remember the exact details of the story you told, but she will remember how your presence made her feel. She won't recall the statistics you shared about your career or the facts about your hobbies, but she will carry the memory of the emotional tone you created when you were with her. This is why emotions are so powerful in conversation. They are the glue that binds people together. And when a man learns how to step out of his head and into his heart, he immediately separates himself from all the others who are busy trying to impress her with surface-level logic. Speaking the language of emotions begins with awareness. You have to notice not only what she is saying, but how she is saying it. Her voice, her expression, the shifts in her tone. These are all windows into her emotional world. If you only respond to her words, you'll miss the deeper connection. But if you respond to her emotions, you create resonance. For example, if she tells you about a challenge at work, she doesn't want you to immediately solve it with logic. She wants you to acknowledge how it made her feel. Saying something like, "That must have been really frustrating for you," creates a bridge that logic never could. Because in that moment, she feels understood. Women want to feel that a man can meet them emotionally, that he's not afraid of depth, that he's not hiding behind intellect to avoid vulnerability. A man who can validate emotions instead of dismissing them demonstrates strength, not weakness. Too often, men think that listening to emotions means agreeing with everything she says or losing their own perspective. But that's not the case. It simply means recognizing her experience as valid and letting her feel safe enough to share it. This safety is what creates closeness. When she feels that her emotions matter to you, she opens up more, she trusts more, and she invests more in the connection. Emotions also carry energy, and energy is contagious. If you bring excitement into a conversation, she feels it. If you bring warmth, she relaxes. If you bring playfulness, she lights up. If you bring calmness, she feels grounded. This is why your emotional state matters more than your words. You set the tone for the conversation, and she mirrors it. A man who can manage his own emotions and choose the energy he radiates has an incredible advantage, because he can guide the emotional flow of the interaction. Instead of being pulled into negativity or tension, he can create an environment of ease and joy. That kind of emotional leadership is rare, and women notice it immediately. Another key part of mastering emotions is sharing your own. Many men hide their feelings because they fear it will make them look weak. They speak in neutral, flat tones, keeping everything safe and guarded. But this makes them come across as cold or disconnected. When you're willing to share what excites you, what inspires you, what challenges you, you allow her to see your humanity. Vulnerability is not weakness, it's authenticity. And authenticity is what creates trust. When a man can reveal his emotional truth without shame, it invites her to do the same. Suddenly, the conversation moves from surface-level facts to something deeper, something alive. Think about the difference between telling a story as a list of events and telling it as an emotional journey. If you say, "I traveled to Italy, I saw some historical sites, and I ate good food," that's a factual report. But if you say, "When I stood in front of the Colosseum, I felt this rush of awe, like I was standing in the middle of history. And when I tasted that pasta, it reminded me of my grandmother's cooking, and I felt this wave of nostalgia." Now you're sharing emotions. That kind of storytelling draws her in because it invites her to feel alongside you. It's not the trip itself that matters. It's the emotional experience of it. A woman doesn't want to just know about your life. She wants to feel your life. She wants to sense the passion in your voice when you talk about what you love, the excitement in your tone when you share your goals, the humor in your laughter when you tell a funny memory. These emotions are what make you real to her. Without them, you're just another man reciting facts, and facts don't inspire connection. Emotions are what make you unforgettable. The most powerful thing you can do in conversation is create an emotional experience she enjoys. If she laughs with you, if she feels understood by you, if she feels inspired around you, she will want to stay in your presence. Attraction is not built on logic, it's built on feelings. And once you understand that emotions are the true language of women, you stop trying to win her with facts and start connecting with her heart. Most men make the mistake of approaching conversations with women as if they are auditions, performances where every word must be flawless and every gesture must land perfectly. They believe that if they put on the right act, follow the right script, or mimic the behavior of someone they admire, they will finally unlock connection and attraction. But what they don't realize is that performance is exhausting, both for the man delivering it and for the woman receiving it. A woman can sense immediately when a man is not being real, when his words are rehearsed, when his laughter is forced, when his confidence is only an act. She may not always call it out directly, but deep down, she knows. What she craves is not a polished performance, but raw authenticity. She wants to know who you are without the mask, because that is the man she can trust. Authenticity carries a power that cannot be faked. When you drop the need to impress and simply allow yourself to be seen as you are, you communicate strength. Most men think strength means showing no cracks, never revealing flaws, never admitting uncertainty. But true strength is being comfortable enough with yourself to stand without pretense. It's saying what you mean without disguising it, laughing when you feel like laughing, pausing when you don't have the words, and sharing the truth of your thoughts even if they're not perfect. This honesty creates a vibration of realness that is magnetic. Women are drawn to it because it makes them feel safe. They know they're not dealing with a performance that will fade once the curtain falls. They're dealing with a man whose energy is consistent, grounded, and trustworthy. When you perform, you create distance because performance is about control. You're trying to manage how she sees you, trying to manipulate her reaction, trying to make sure every impression is carefully constructed. But that control suffocates connection. It keeps you locked in your head instead of present in the moment. Authenticity, on the other hand, creates closeness. It frees the conversation from expectations and allows it to flow naturally. It tells her, I am here as I am, and that is enough. That kind of freedom is rare, and it's what allows both people to relax into the interaction instead of constantly evaluating it. Authenticity also eliminates fear. The fear of saying the wrong thing, the fear of being judged, the fear of not being good enough. All of it dissolves when you stop performing and start being real. If you're not trying to impress, you cannot fail. If you're not trying to be perfect, you cannot fall short. This relaxed energy is deeply attractive because it shows her that you are comfortable in your own skin. And when you are comfortable in your own skin, you give her permission to be comfortable in hers. That's how intimacy begins, not through carefully crafted lines, but through mutual authenticity. One of the most compelling aspects of being real is vulnerability. Most men run from vulnerability because they believe it's a weakness, but in truth, it's one of the greatest displays of courage. Sharing a genuine feeling, admitting a mistake, or revealing something personal is not weakness. It's honesty. And honesty is powerful because it resonates. Women respect a man who can be open because it shows he has nothing to hide and no need to mask himself behind ego. It doesn't mean oversharing or spilling your whole life story in one sitting. It means not pretending to be something you're not. If you're nervous, you don't have to fake perfect composure. If you're passionate, you don't have to tone it down. If you don't know the answer to something, you don't have to bluff your way through. That transparency is refreshing, and it creates a level of trust no performance can match. Authenticity also makes you more memorable. A man who tries too hard to act like everyone else fades into the background because his energy blends into the noise of all the other men performing. But the man who is unapologetically himself stands out. His quirks, his unique way of expressing himself, his genuine interests. These are the things that create connection. Women don't want a carbon copy of the man they saw in a movie or read about in a book. They want the real human being standing in front of them. Authenticity is what makes you irreplaceable because there is only one of you. Even silence becomes powerful when it's authentic. If you pause to think, if you take a moment to gather your words, if you allow space in the conversation, she feels the realness of it. Silence doesn't make you weak. If it's genuine, it makes you grounded. Compare that to the man who fills every gap with nervous chatter or rehearsed lines. She can feel his discomfort, and it pulls her away. But when your silence comes from a place of ease, it communicates confidence without a word. That's the difference authenticity makes. When you drop the performance, you also create more joy in the interaction. You're not weighed down by the pressure of keeping up an act, so you can relax and enjoy the moment. That enjoyment is contagious. She feels your ease, she feels your playfulness, and she naturally responds with more openness. A conversation becomes less about outcomes and more about shared experience. That's when connection happens, when both people are present, unguarded, and engaged without pretense. At its core, authenticity is alignment. It's aligning what you say with what you feel, aligning how you act with who you truly are, aligning your external presence with your internal truth. When those things line up, you radiate integrity. Integrity is not just about honesty with others. It's about honesty with yourself. And when you live in that alignment, your energy becomes magnetic. You don't need to force attraction. You don't need to chase approval. You don't need to pretend. You simply allow yourself to be seen. And in that rawness, you create a depth of connection that no performance can ever achieve.